might also address, is this still on? Got it, okay. So the Collins Foundation does make grants to newer nonprofits. I think generally approaching foundations for startup dollars, that is asking foundations to provide the very first dollars to start an organization, can be a little bit harder, and at least with the Collins Foundation and probably with some others, there would be a hope that we would see that organizational structure there, some early successes from within the community, that it's actually clear that the community has in fact come together to help form the nonprofit, so that it isn't, we aren't left with the impression that a handful or a couple of folks in that community think this is a great idea and they'd like the foundation to help convince the rest of the community that it's a great idea. Better when it's sort of the grassroots and it grows from that point forward. So Collins has on occasion been one of the early grantors to a young nonprofit, but never the first funder to the nonprofit. Does that help? Okay.
I can say that I am very similar to Megan, and so I don't know if I picked up that, and this is not be a situation. Creating a nonprofit because you want to avoid some university or within an organization is start up another one. I would just say that, at some point in time you're going to face, you're going to have to deal with that issue. So if it's an issue going on in the community, it's better to sort of figure that out and work it out than to try and create parallel activities going on, because the funders are going to know about that and ask you about that. And while we don't think you all have to be walking, locked hip and same song, because we have limited funds, that you are overly duplicating other activities. And just one other thing in addition to having your, although you've just been creating, you have been doing this, this group has been informally doing this as volunteers. And that it's just this natural stage of evolution for this service in the community. Sort of what we look at is, have you built that board around what it means to go from an all-volunteer community organization to a non-profit organization? Budget, and you have a plan, vision for what you want to be doing.
Can I add in, actually I'm really looking towards Tom, and it relates to what Linda related. We do, probably everything peers have said is very true for our responsive grants program. If you're a grassroots startup, we need to know all the things you've heard here. We do have a different kind of grant that I think is very much around what Linda was talking about, and it's through Tom's program, the Technical Assistance Grant. And we do see those going to sometimes, organizations at all sorts of stages. And sometimes those can be really nice in an early stage of an organization to bring in outside expertise, very much what Linda was describing. So to be able to hire outside expertise to come in and build capacity within your organization. So you might be a new startup and you know that your board needs to be developed in a different way, or you need a plan. The Institute, where Tom is the director, will provide these technical assistance grants, so he can tell you a lot more about them, to build that capacity. And that's the kind of bet that the Institute really does want to make to get things going. So they're not limited to startups or new nonprofits, but they're certainly welcome to apply. Is that fair?
Yes, that's fair, and that's probably a good segue into the close of this session. Does somebody have a burning question they wish to ask? I'd like to just mention, I think, coming off this discussion about the startup organizations, what would affect us in the Institute is whether we know people and have a relationship It's amazing how important that is, and it sounds like we might be biased or something, but we like everybody, at least to start with. Yeah. It just really matters that you've maybe been through the leadership training, that you can talk the talk, that you're kind of where you understand that this is the nature of this beast that we're in here. And so I was talking to a fellow just at lunchtime about, well, earlier in that in coffee time or this morning, saying, why don't you start up a new nonprofit? And I can't believe I said that. There's 15,000 in the state, and a third of them aren't current with IRS. And the last thing we need is another nonprofit. But in fact, sometimes we do need another nonprofit so we have a place to put the funds, because funders need a fundee that is IRS qualified, and that's really kind of one of the essentials. The other piece about relationships is that thank you for the panelists. I think you've kind of got to meet them a little bit and get to know them. I'm sure every one of them would say, please, if you have a question, give me a call or send an email. And I'm just excited by all the relationships that have developed at this event. I hope you're finding that it's been like a big reunion for me. And I look forward to the next one. Thank you, panelists. Let's give them a hand.